It's 5:30. We'll call this meeting of the Highway Committee to order. Attendance shows all committee members are present. I'll entertain a motion for the meeting minutes of January 7th.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Are there any comments or changes to the minutes? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Moving on to public comment. If you'd like to make a comment, please come to the microphone and drop off your slip. And please hold your comments to 4 minutes. Time you. Oh, you got to press the button so the light goes off. The red light should go off. There you go.
Sure.
There, perfect.
My name is Norman Berger. I live in Seven Pines. And I'm here to talk about garbage because what the village is doing is garbage. Okay? Bob on Village or on Elmwood doesn't pay extra for his garbage pickup. My daughter on Elmwood doesn't pay extra for garbage pickup. My son on Royal Court doesn't pay extra for a garbage pickup. I mean, if I go to the store and buy something, I get something. But you take our money and we have to pay $12,000 a year for garbage pickup. That's not right. Something has to be changed. So I don't feel that we should be paying. I got a yellow card. Does that mean I get a garbage pickup, or is this a get out of jail free card? I don't understand why we're paying, and whoever started this program, that the condo association should get their own garbage people. It does not make sense.
What's the name of the association, condos that you're in?
Seven Pines Condo Association. It's not fair that we should have to pay $12,000. Okay? That's it.
Okay, thank you for your comments, and we'd be happy to revisit that at a future meeting. Next,
I think the village president said he was going to contact him after the village board meeting.
We're hoping. Okay, good evening. Melanie Smythe, N140W17938 Cedar Lane. I mostly just have questions about the item that's to do with the High Point Pass. I was looking at that and I was wondering where the change order backup information was. You can't tell when those change orders were presented, who signed off on them, if they were done all at the same time, and this is paperwork catch-up, or if the work was held, which it should have been, until the change orders were approved, which is the normal way in construction, and then the work is done. There also isn't any report from Terracon, which is the soils engineering company that came out and apparently looked at the bad soils area. They probably would have provided some guidance as to how much soils should have been dealt with in whatever manner. It would have been nice to see what that recommendation was. It would also have been nice to see the options that the soils subcontractor, excavator, whoever it was, provided as options in order to deal with this. But all the change order numbers are nice round numbers, which is unheard of. Usually they're $3.79, but not $12,000 flat. If you look at them all, they're all round numbers. In my past career in construction, if I had brought something like that to my boss, I would have been beaten with a wet noodle and told to go back and get all the paperwork together. I mean, that's sort of normal process. So one of my questions is, what is the process for handling change orders on these types of projects? We're talking about millions of dollars. From the paperwork, it says that the contract with R.A. Smith was for $173,000 to start. And now we're adding $30,000 plus or minus on top of that, but with no backup. And I don't recall, I haven't been to all of these meetings, but I don't recall where these items were brought before you before. And it seems like that the oversight is less than what it should be. And I'm providing this as constructive criticism because with our DPW director coming several years ago, there have been vast improvements in the methods and methodologies of how the department has improved. And I appreciate that. But this one just seems like it jumped off the page like, what is going on here? You can't really tell what's going on. And I would ask you, and I would suggest that you tell the staff to go back, collect all the paperwork and represent it to you before you approve it. That's my suggestion. We would have to call it high dollar pass in the future, I think, if we don't do something like that. Thanks.
Thank you. Next? Anyone else? Anybody online? I don't think so. Okay, then we will move on. We don't have unfinished business, so we'll move on to new business A, purchase of traffic detection cameras from TAPCO for an amount not to exceed $27,340.
Good evening.
Hey, Scott.
A number of topics here tonight that I'll be going over with you. Many of these are going to be routine things that the committee will recognize, either because they're things we do annually or topics that we discussed at length during the budget process. Item A, the traffic cameras. Just a little background on that. The village has a number of signalized intersections around the village. And our camera manufacturer, Iteris, was no longer supporting the software or hardware, for that matter, for the equipment we have. In a roundabout way, our local representative, TAPCO, the manufacturer's supplier, if you will, had severed ties with Iteris, and they went with a new product called No Traffic, which left the village in a position where we, through knockdowns or equipment failures, we're going to run into a problem where we can't detect traffic and we're going to have long waits on side streets. Again, many of you may remember that from the budget process. So the plan in place here right now is to try to do one intersection per year, and that's the topic before you tonight. So we would be starting this year at Maple Road and Freistadt Road. And you'll see before you a recommendation to purchase a note traffic detection camera through TAPCO, excuse me, in an amount not to exceed $27,340. It's probably worthwhile to note that we only have a singular price here. TAPCO is the sole representative of that product in the area, so there isn't competitive pricing there. We're at their mercy in this region. Happy to entertain any questions.
Committee, let's entertain a motion first, please. And then,
Approval of the purchase of traffic detection cameras from TAPCO for an amount not to exceed $27,340.
Second.
okay, Jan?
My question is, you've been doing business for TAPCO, with TAPCO, and they're not supporting the hardware or software anymore of the product that we have, although you can use the parts on the old ones as this transition happens. Why would we stay with, and so their solution was this no traffic brand? Are there other distributors that have other brands that would do the same thing? I mean, that's what we would go for, because we're changing the whole system, correct?
Yes, excellent question. Just again, as a clarifier, it is not TAPCO that's no longer supporting the hardware or software. It's the manufacturer,
Right,
Iteris.
I'm sorry, yeah.
So we've switched from Iteris to a completely, so we've already kind of done what you're suggesting. We've looked elsewhere. TAPCO as the representative has looked elsewhere, and they're now supporting no traffic.
They looked for another
Yes.
type of traffic control, but did the village look for another? If you're using their, all their data?
Yeah, so again, TAPCO does, the village, little background, the the village does most of our own preventative maintenance in-house. So if we have signal knockdowns, cabinet work, things
Oh.
of that nature, we're doing that work in-house. When we need support, because things get beyond our scope or capability, TAPCO is again that local company. They do work all throughout the state. So TAPCO is a signal and sign supply company. They are pretty much the sole company in the area. There is a company out of Illinois, but TAPCO is right in Brown Deer. They're in our backyard. The village has had an excellent relationship with TAPCO for my entire career here. So they're still giving us excellent support. We want to keep TAPCO as a partner. The village wants to keep TAPCO as a partner, and they are basically changing direction with no traffic because Iteris is no longer supported.
Yeah, I understand that. Thank you. Did I have another question? So you're saying this is our only option?
I mean, we could stick with Iteris. We'd have to purchase it through a different supplier. But again, in my opinion and my recommendation would be against that. I don't want to go with a different supplier and continue with a product where they've already shut the door on us once already. And then our local rep who's going to do our service isn't familiar with that equipment.
Bob, Rick, any comments? Any further comments? And we'll vote. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? It's unanimous. The purchase of tar and mastic, an application trailer rental from Sherwin Industries for an amount not to exceed $55,861.65.
This is one that's very routine. Members of the Public Works Committee should recognize this topic. Again, our staff self-performs tar and mastic installation around the village annually. Our tar program closely follows the seal coating program, which we work together
On the mastic application is really a way that we've found to bridge some of the gapping that we have when it comes to plowing and some of the obstructions we face with sanitary and storm manholes, as well as bridging some transverse cracks on larger areas. Again, the numbers before you are the product price. That's the village staff self performing the installation. One thing over the years that would happen would be as we rent the mastic melter, I would take that out of our rental account, just being fully transparent with the total cost. We always talked about tar and mastic prices, but we never really talked about the trailer. So I'm just trying to reflect that here in the number that you're seeing today. So that's all in tar, mastic, and the rental trailer. So again, staff is making a recommendation with with Sherwin Industries to purchase the Craftco products and rent the trailer in an amount of $55,861.65. Again, also worth noting, similar to TAPCO, Sherwin Industries is the only supplier of Craftco products in our region.
Committee, entertain a motion.
Make a motion to purchase Craftco Asphalt Rubber Plus, Craftco Mastic One, and Mastic Application Trailer Rental in the amount of $55,861.65.
Second.
Discussion. Jan?
Quick question for you, Scott. Have we used this particular product year on year?
Yes.
And what did we pay for this mastic and tar last year? Like, what's a comparison?
Well, to be honest with you, let me see if I have the prices from last year. I don't know that I have them with me, but to be quite honest, I don't think the price actually inflated from last year's cost at all. So the village is getting it at the same price we did last year, or darn close to it.
Okay, about the same.
Yeah.
I'll hold you to that.
Committee, any other questions? We'll vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Thank
Moving
you.
on to C, purchase center and edge line striping services from Washington County for an amount not to exceed $62,000.
Move approval of item C as presented.
Second.
Any comments, questions, discussion? Jan?
Scott, same question. What did we pay last year from Washington County?
Price is exactly the same.
And is there any
$39
other
a mile.
supplier that would do it?
I'm sorry?
Is there any other supplier that would do it?
There are contractors. As a
Uh-huh.
matter of fact, in 2022, we went out and got some bids. The committee asked at that time just to
22?
do a little price check. We did it in 2022, and we found that with the county doing the work for us, we were saving about 2/3 the cost.
Well, that's pretty good.
Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. D, purchase 2 zero-turn mowers from Bobcat Plus for an amount not to exceed $31,337.24.
This would again be a capital budget item that was discussed during the budget process. It follows along with our new equipment plan that we put together last year. Again, the village is running zero-turn mowers from April through November, 4 of them a day. We have 2 spares in case of breakdowns. They've got a life cycle of about 9 years. They average about 2,000 hours. And these 2 units have just come up in life cycle. And that's why you're seeing, that's why you saw it the budget. That's why you're seeing the purchase request here today. We've got a couple bidders that we went out to for the product. You will notice that I'm recommending the second lowest number, which is off by just a shade here. The Bobcat Plus is right in Butler, and Rock River Power Sports is actually out of Johnson's Creek. So again, just from a service and maintenance perspective, keeping that vendor that's closer. Again, the difference between the two is 31,337 and 31,178. So a very small amount to stay right here locally and have the same vendor that we've been using for parts and supplies right in Butler rather than out in Johnson Creek. So again, staff is recommending the purchase of 2 ZT 7,000 zero turns from Bobcat Plus in an amount not to exceed 31,337.24.
Ready?
Make a motion to purchase 2 ZT 7,000 zero-turn mowers from Bobcat Plus Incorporated for an amount not to exceed $31,337.24.
Second.
Bob?
Scott, these aren't, we don't use these for sidewalk snow removal, do we?
No, but we will be talking about that at a later month. These are just strictly for cutting turf. Yeah.
Okay. And do we, what do we do with the old ones?
We sell them at auction. Everything that we get rid of goes to Wisconsin surplus.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Rick?
Yeah, did you say 2,000 hours a year on these?
No,
2,000 hours total.
yes.
That makes more sense.
Yep. 9 years, 2,000 hours.
Like, wow, you really use those things.
We're good, not that good.
Scott, did you say that you have 2 on hand, 2 lawnmowers on hand?
So 4 go out daily in that period, and then we have 2 spares. Obviously, if one's down, we want something that we can shuttle in. So as they age, they go the first 2 cycles as a lead machine, and then they transfer into the backup, and then it's those backups that we're getting rid of, and we just continue to shift those through the fleet.
Okay. So at all times you have
6 units.
6 lawnmowers?
Yes.
Are they all zero turn?
The village does have, again, sidewalk tractors, which perform a different task of cutting grass, and they also do the sidewalk maintenance. So that's an addition. Those are also out. But we have 6 zero-turn mowers. 4 of those are getting used daily.
Okay. So the idea is to have 6 lawnmowers and they can be out every day to cover all of the
4
Parks.
of the 6 would be out daily, and then there are a couple backups that we would have just in case of a long-term breakdown.
So 2 are sitting back in the DPW.
That is correct.
And why do you need 2? Wouldn't you just need 1?
Again, there are some problems like transmissions and things like that, drivetrains that can take these mowers down for a period of time. It's not uncommon that might happen in the summer, and then something as simple as somebody needing a deck repair could all of a sudden take one of the crews out. Again, we buy them in pairs, so we kind of get rid of them in pairs.
What would be the price on a single? I guess
It
that's.
would be
the answer.
half. It would be
Right.
roughly half.
Right. It's still the same amount of money.
Yeah.
When have you ever had to utilize both of the spares?
I can't give you a for instance. I'd really have to look back or think about it. But again, I guess from my perspective, if we were buying them singularly, we could maybe get rid of them, but we're buying them in pairs. So in my mind, it makes sense to get rid of them in pairs as well. By that point, the village already owns it. And so we're just holding on to it until the time we auction both of them.
Okay.
I would just add to that, you know, they serve their primary function for a number of years and then go into a backup role. So by the time they're in that backup role, they've accumulated most of those 2,000 hours. They're a very well-used piece of equipment. And they serve the purpose of, like, let's say we do have that long-term maintenance issue. Maybe one's out for a season because of a bigger issue. Then there's another one that can fill in for the smaller breakdowns that happen just routinely over the course of a year. The idea is that we're able to provide a consistent level of service and not get behind on the grass cutting. And if we were down to 3 units, you would definitely notice that we were delayed in our grass cutting routine.
Scott, this is for parks as well as boulevards, and it's for everything.
That's correct.
It's a
Yeah.
lot of
Right.
grass.
Yep.
Yeah.
I understand that. I just think it's, uh, as we have a service provider that we're going with that's right in Butler. We have maintenance people on staff. Is this something that we can do in our own maintenance garage?
Yes, like the examples, and again, I talk more specifically about the MV, which is not the unit, that's the sidewalk tractor. But one of those had a drivetrain issue and was down for about 5 or 6 weeks last year. So again, because of the cost, we have one spare, and that's good that we have one spare because we were able to continue doing the maintenance. But those machines are $270-some thousand a piece, as you may remember from the budget. So again, being that we have 4 of these out every day, potential long-term repair, and maybe something smaller like a deck issue that might take it down for a day or two, that's the rationale behind keeping the 2 and running them in and out of the fleet and series.
Trustee Miller, the last thing that I would add is, we went through the evaluation of the fleet over the course of 2025, and we assigned life cycles, and we feel that it's important to maintain that life cycle approach. But we held back on like making a fleet reduction with that group until more data was available. And I think, the idea with the fleet group was to set a baseline and then to look at the use of these machines year after year. So maybe we can make, instead of just kind of an assumption, we can make a more educated decision based on actual usage if 6 is the right number or if 5 is the right number. But I think that's something we need a couple more years of data on to really understand.
I think we need to do it sooner than later. And
Well,
we
you
were
can't
looking,
rush it because they're used seasonally and you have to
Right.
get that data every year
Right.
and then make a
We'll
decision.
have
Like,
2
is
years.
that 6th unit the one that's most likely to stay in the garage? Is it getting used at all? And maybe we have a sense of that from the operation, but the data will tell us that, like, oh, it only went out for 5 hours. If we saw it was used for 5 hours over 3 years, then I would say, yeah, we probably don't need that 6th unit, but I can't say that right now based on what we know.
Yeah, were we going to re-review that
I-
also?
We'll re-review it every year. I would add one more thing, just as a ballpark. When we get rid of that mower, the village might get $3,000, $2,500, $3,000 for it. So again, to me, the value in making sure that we don't fall behind rather than capturing $2,500 or $3,000, getting rid of that extra machine, I find far more value in making sure that we can complete the task and not fall behind in the field. That's just my thought.
Yeah, I'm on GGF and my thought is saving money.
Any further comments or questions?
understand.
We have a motion, we have a second. Bob?
So Scott, and like Matt had said too, so with the information we have to date, how much these machines are used and the life cycles, as much as you could do the numbers, you're at the point where these two machines make the most sense right now until further information may sway you from that. It's the same study I'm sure you're doing for the patrol trucks too, right? Why are we in this cycle of this many patrol trucks in this time frame? I'm assuming the same math applies to these
Yep.
lawnmowers. And then just for my clarification, I see different types of lawnmowers out there, like the ones with the full cabs. I assume those are the ones that are double up for snow plowing also?
Yeah, the ones with the full cabs are the sidewalk tractors. And that's the one that we removed from the budget and we're looking at something different.
Yes.
But a few more topics have to be covered yet.
And how many of those do you have versus what you're asking for now this
So
time?
there, two of those go out, again, from April through November. Two of those are going out every, usually Monday through potentially Thursday. And then we have one spare in the garage. So again, that's a great example of, even though it's worth $272,000 new, where the village is going to get a little bit more money for that when it goes to auction, right? But last year we had a long-term, I would say it was down a month or 5 weeks in our shop. And again, that spare is invaluable then at that point.
So those are 272 versus these, which are about
15,000
15,000.
piece.
So they're more valuable for snow plowing. Does it make more sense that you save those for snow plowing?
Yeah.
And use more of the cheap, less expensive strictly grass cutting machine?
There's a huge difference. You're looking at a 60-inch deck compared to the big fold out where we're cutting 14 or 15 feet at a time.
Okay.
So there's a big advantage to cutting. Those are a necessity for getting the village cut every week.
Okay. The production you get out of that.
Yeah,
There's no comparison to these.
no comparison.
Okay.
We'd be putting out far more zero turn with way more staff potentially to keep up with the same amount of grass that those can do with two people.
Figured there was a reason.
Yeah.
Thanks, Scott.
Rick, anything? No? We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Thank you.
All right, let's see. Moving on to purchase of a scissors lift from, is it Yes or is it YES Equipment Services
Yes,
for
equipment services, yeah.
$21,647.80.
Again, this was a 2026 budget line item. I believe it was originally capitalized in the budget. You may recall that during discussion, there was some savings found, and the request was to put this purchase back into the operating budget, which is where we'd be taking the funding from. This again stems from having new DPW facility with maintenance items high in our ceilings, plumbing, IT equipment, HVAC equipment, and a means for us to get up and get that work done. You may recall from the budget discussion that while this will be housed at the DPW and primarily used there, we had a lengthy discussion about the ability to move it to the fire station or the police station or even the library. Once this became an approved budget item, staff did pull some demos in, keeping in mind not just our use at the DPW, but also verifying width and fold down sides and things like that so that we're sure that we can get it in and maneuver it in certain aspects around the library as well. Regarding the library specifically, I guess I would point out, we just had some fire suppression work done there. I'm sorry, fire alarm work done there that was way up in the tippy top of the building. This lift would not achieve that type of work. So it's not to say that the village won't ever have to pay for a rental again down the road or that kind of thing. But this is going to take care of all the work we would need it to do at the DPW, would take care of any high work that would need to be done at the fire station, police department, again, depending on the future of those facilities. And it would take care of the lion's share of the things that we would need at the library. So again, staff did the due diligence on testing the equipment. We went out for several proposals and we're recommending the scissors lift JLG 2632ES from Yes Equipment Services, an amount not to exceed $21,647.80, taking out of our operating budget.
I'll entertain a motion.
Move approval of the purchase of a scissors lift from Yes Equipment Services for $21,647.80.
I'll second.
Questions, Jan, Bob, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I remember this during discussions, budget discussions. So we moved it into operating budget. We didn't eliminate it because I know we were going back and forth on, yeah,
It's out of the bar.
like renting it, and that didn't seem practical and all of that. So
Right.
that's why we're in operating now. Okay, thanks.
Jan?
And I was under the impression that the library actually did have some sort of a lift that they do use in certain areas. Is that true?
That is true. And that lift is an aerial platform lift.
Mhm.
Kind of picture a spider. It has legs that come out. It's a very cumbersome machine to utilize. It doesn't have the maneuverability.
Right.
The village would retain that. It still has a use at that building specifically. But the other buildings where somebody might be going around and doing garage door maintenance and going from door to door to door,
Right.
there's no efficiency with the machine that the village currently owns over there.
Okay.
So that's the rationale behind this purchase.
Well, then the next follow-up question is, can you store that lift at the DPW instead of the library
Um,
and move it back and forth? And the
You
only
could-
reason is because they need space.
Could be a discussion. I've never heard the request from Trisha or Connie. And I guess anything can be a discussion. My initial thought is that will never be used anywhere else. So why transport it? But if space becomes an issue and they ask about it, certainly something we could entertain.
Yeah. It's something you wouldn't use every week, probably, right?
No, certainly not every week. But I think I could think of a few examples in my mind where like the situation may be more emergent. Our cold temperatures here recently, the children's area, the supply piping for the radiator is way up in the ceiling. Quick access to that is not maybe crucial, but could be somewhat important at some point. But again, if Trisha and Connie were making the request due to space constraints, we could certainly have the discussion.
We just had a library presentation and they need space. That hasn't changed. So it's an idea. Thanks.
It's for you, for handouts on the library. It's for you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Any further discussion?
Quick one.
Bob?
So with all we're talking about sharing it, moving it around, does this thing come with a trailer?
It does not, but the village
You've
owns
got
trailer
enough.
that it'll work on.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks.
Rick, anything? No? We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Moving on to F, a 3-year HVAC service agreement with Martin Peterson Company totaling $38,260.
Last topic for me tonight. Again, this is a new topic as it relates to the Public Works Department, but would be the very similar model to the agreement that we have with Johnson Controls over at the library that we discuss every few years. We're currently on our last year of a 3-year contract there. This is preventative maintenance for the HVAC equipment. This would be the start of a new 3-year contract over at the Public Works facility. Again, our team is going to handle day-to-day things that come up, initial responses to things, filter changes, things of that nature. This is more in-depth, seasonal maintenance, if you will. They're coming in spring and fall and giving these pieces of equipment their routine maintenance checks, making sure everything's working. Matter of fact, the RFP that we put together was pretty intensive. Each piece of equipment has a long list of checklist items that they're looking at. So again, when the village enters these agreements, we do get a reduction of 10%, both in this contract and at the library on our street rate when we do need to hire them for service that's not related to preventative maintenance. So that's another potential advantage. And again, I think it makes budgeting for the service a little bit easier. We can go out 3 years and kind of have a projection of where that's going to be. So again, we took that out for bid. Everybody was bidding on the same specification. Martin Peterson is who we're recommending. They were actually the HVAC contractor during the construction of the facility, so they're relatively familiar with it. But we've done other projects with Primastar. You may remember them from the library condenser unit project and Lee Mechanical Just recently did some damper work. So all very reputable contractors that we went out to. But obviously, as the numbers play out here, Martin Peterson is our recommendation. We're recommending the 3-year agreement in a total amount not to exceed $38,260. Again, that's the life of the 3-year. Broken down, it's about $12,000 or so dollars, roughly a shade under $13,000 a year annually. That would be taken out of the DPW operating line item.
Scott, why such a disparity between the three?
You know, that's a good question. The Primastar and Lee Mechanical are much closer in nature. If it wasn't for the fact that Martin Peterson actually constructed the facility, I probably would have questioned that more. But they, more than anybody, are familiar with the building. They put it together. And thus far, through the warranty period, as we were working alongside of more construction through the warranty period, they've been responsive. And they've been able to fix the problems thus far that have come up. And so even though there is a difference in the price, I feel confident just because of those factors.
Okay. Motion, please.
I'll move approval of a 3-year HVAC service agreement with Martin Peterson Company for a total of $38,260.
Second?
Jen?
Yes. Quick question. So this, the Martin Peterson Company is going to take care of the HVAC for DPW and library? What
Yes.
about the senior?
No, this
No.
is a DPW only contract. I was referencing the library just because it's something that many of the committee members are familiar with.
Oh, because I was going to say there's nothing been new at the library. So does the senior center and library have similar contracts
They don't have similar contracts in place.
for the village center?
Yeah. The DPW and the library have very similar HVAC systems. They have air handlers and condensers. They're larger, more commercial grade units. The units that are in Village Hall Fire Station currently, Senior Center, they have smaller units, smaller household type units, and they're zoned out. So we're using smaller contractors when we need to, and our team is doing some things internally as well to try to maintain those.
Right, okay, thank you. Is there a guarantee on on their work? Obviously, there is. Do they guarantee their work when they come in and do the?
Yeah, I think the work that they've bid on is very clear. It's a punch list type thing of all the different things they're going to go through. Now, if they're going through the equipment and they find something in addition, hey, we found that you have this wrong with this piece of equipment, there'd be an additional charge for that.
Or whatever, right. Thank you.
Scott, what did we do at the old place? As far, did we have maintenance or maintenance contractor for the HVAC or?
It was
Keep up on it.
It was done in a similar fashion to what I just described at the other buildings. Again, you had Modine heaters, and I think we had a few makeup air units, but they were again smaller in size and differently maintained. So we were using a smaller contractor at the old DPW facility. Again, I think as we start to get these, we've got the library, we've got a complicated HVAC system there. We now have a complicated HVAC system at the DPW. We're talking about renovations at the fire station. We're talking about a new police department. As we do this and we start to step into commercial equipment, we've got to kind of anticipate some of these costs as well.
So while we were looking at this DPW building, did we understand that there's going to be additional costs for the maintenance of the HVAC because it's more commercial, more complicated? Was
I
that
think-
kind of a line item?
I think from a staff perspective, I certainly expected it. And again, that's why I'm pointing it out tonight. We're going to continue these discussions and they're just important to note.
Okay, thank you.
Any further comments?
Was this out of the operating?
It is.
Okay, thanks.
Rick?
Yeah, one of the things I noticed when when I toured the Public Works building was all the air handling equipment, and it was Green Heck. And I know people at Green Heck, and thank God you purchased Wisconsin-made products. But there's a lot of equipment and air handling units in that place, and I don't doubt that it takes this kind of maintenance annually to maintain it. And with Martin Peterson being almost half is surprising, but I'm very happy to get that cost or that amount for the preventive maintenance of this.
Yeah,
And they're giving us a discount on their
Street
hourly,
rate.
right?
yeah, 10%.
How was the building during this cold snap? Did it stay warm?
Good. Yeah.
Good.
Garage was a little chilly, but it was intentionally so. I mean, we don't keep the heat up out there too much, but yeah, generally speaking, it was great.
Good.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Scott, very much. Moving on.
Thank you.
D, purchase of a Trimble R580 global navigation satellite system unit from
Don't forget your reading.
from Siler Geospatial for $18,291.44. Who's got that one? Oh, hello.
Hi. Good evening. Kevin Driscoll, Village Engineer. On the item of the survey equipment, the Trimble unit, there was 20,000 approved in the 2026 budget by the village board. Staff went ahead and requested quotes from vendors. And the pricing for $18,291.44 presented in the packet is what staff is recommending, where the other quoted price was more and more complicated with the communication and computer system. So staff would like to go with a Trimble unit with Siler. They're the vendor that's been reliable for the survey equipment needs of the village. And the other part is this will be more efficient with staff time out in the field. Because the current equipment is kind of like using an old phone where it just takes a really long time.
Ready?
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of a Trimble R580 GNSS unit from Siler Geospatial for $18,291.44.
I'll second.
Further discussion or any discussion? Bob?
So Kevin, you'll use this to create your base mapping on our projects,
Yes.
and then it's to use it for going out for spot elevations. I mean, is this the only device that we have now or would have?
Well, there's the existing device and we've considered selling it, but it's kind of like probably like a car with like 200,000 miles on it.
Oh.
So we probably won't get much of a trade-in for it. But the survey equipment will be used frequently for drainage complaints, like ditch checks, culvert invert elevations, in addition to design for the road program.
Use it for as-built?
As-built, yes, when the village staff is working on those construction as-built records, then yes.
So is this would be primarily used by Jake, our engineering technician?
Yes, our other engineering technician has found employment elsewhere. So Jake will be our engineering
It's kind of
tech
spreading.
using it. And then we did post the other engineering technician position because we anticipate having a very busy summer.
Does he need a lot more training now to operate this?
No,
Okay,
no, it's a plug and play.
okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So if I'm understanding this right, this is one of the portable systems.
Mhm.
You take it with you
Yeah,
and
it's
then you
kind of
can line it up.
Shooting elevations. up.
Gotcha.
It's a
Okay,
GPS unit with a rover,
right.
not a total station with
Does it,
a scope.
oh, okay. But does it send in the information? Does it store it and then send it back to our database or anything?
Yeah, there's a data logger, so it'll
Okay.
collect the information from the
Yeah.
satellites into the GPS unit.
Okay.
Further questions or comments? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Jan, were you an aye?
Aye.
Okay,
Sorry.
that's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kevin. Moving on to wastewater utility lift station 6 land acquisition. So this is kind of a coming back around, am I right? We've talked about this a number of times.
Was in utility advisory.
Yeah, oh, it was, okay.
Yeah.
But it wasn't recorded.
So do you want to take the lead on it then, Bob?
Yeah, I think, Bob, let's hear
You're
what the
the chair.
utility advisory said. I would,
Yeah, I was unanimous.
No, it was a positive recommendation.
Yeah, it was a positive recommendation.
And it was unanimous, everybody on the?
No?
No, it was,
Was there one dissent? Oh,
Three to
no, there
two.
were two.
3-2.
Yeah, it was 3-2, right.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter who was.
What was the general tenor of the discussion?
Well, it was a lot of money. People were questioning if we needed to do this now. It's for the purchase of the land, trying to get ahead of the game. I think it was just the sheer amount of dollars that would be required for this. But I'll let Tim or Matt talk about the downside if you don't do it now, or what kind of a box that might put us into and why this would make sense now.
Okay.
So, like trustee Warren indicated, this went to utility advisory. We had a long discussion on it. The history of Lift 6, I'll just go through it briefly. It was constructed in 1977 as part of the Rivers Bend development. In June of 96, it suffered flooding. That's when the initial berm was constructed around it. In 1998, County Line Road was reconstructed into its current configuration, and we now had a shared driveway through the Rivers Bend Golf Club. In 2007, the station was upgraded to its current configuration, consisting of a control building, a generator, building salvage from the old Lift 7, and the pumps were upgraded to 40 horsepower. Impressed current cathodic protection was added to the buried steel structure to extend its life an additional 15 to 20 years. Let me back up and say the original design life of that lift station was 25 to 30 years because it did not have cathodic protection when it was first built. They just used the tar coating on the steel, which is long gone. 2014, Buffalo Wild Wings and Starbucks development was proposed. At that time, staff requested Lift 6 get moved. Due to significant grade changes being proposed, that request was shot down by both Plan Commission and the Village Board. And Lift 6 has become the low point since that development has occurred, and access is now through a shared driveway through the Starbucks drive-through. In its current configuration, Lift 6 is at build-out for capacity. Constructing a new wet well on the current site for capacity upgrade would be near impossible due to the fact that the buried steel structure, which houses the pumps, extends underneath the sidewalk into County Line Road, and the need to maintain flow during construction, the footprint is just too small. As evidenced by the flooding of August 10th through the 16th of 2025, Lift 6 is the low point and will continue to be at risk of failure due to flooding. The buried steel structure has well exceeded its design life and needs replacement, and the parcel across the river for consideration was not flooded out in August, and it would provide a cost-effective location for relocation of the lift and give the village flexibility for design for the future flows in the County Line Basin. I did a little additional digging. First of all, there was a question at utility advisory of how big the parcel actually is. So at the back of your packet, you'll have a picture that looks like this. And that total parcel size is 4.7 acres, with the vast majority of it being on the north side of the river. And then exactly 1 week after the flooding, there was a new set of aerial photography taken in the County Line corridor. If you look at the picture here, you'll see I highlighted the mud line, which was the extent of the floodwaters that came up into the parking lot of that building across the river that we're looking to purchase.
And for the people that are looking at the screen, I pulled it up. You can see that line that he was talking about right here.
Yep.
So that was the extent of the flooding on that site, August 10th through August 16th. We were actually using that parking lot as a staging area for equipment. And as discussed at Utility Advisory Committee, that's where President Soderberg parked every morning to start his day when he came to visit us. So you look at the mud line on that picture and then compare it to the drone footage of how flooded that basin was on those days. Kind of makes sense that it'd be nice to get a lift station up on higher ground, the future of this community. This committee already recommended probably about 3 years ago to move forward with the purchase. We're just kind of circling back. I think there's been a little bit more interest in the selling party to sell. At least that's what the initial indicators are from the village attorney.
Has the price gone
Well-
down?
We haven't discussed any kind of price.
I think what the next step would be if the committee were to advance this is that it would go to the village board, and the village board would establish some terms for the village attorney to inquire about the property and potentially take action. So the only other thing that I would add is during the budget process, this was a budgeted item in the wastewater utility. And it has been for a number of years, and we acknowledge that in the budget process. The question was asked, well, why is it there? And this is the reason that it's existed in the budget. I think now is just an appropriate time to act, especially knowing that this is going to have to be replaced sometime in the next 5 to 10 years. And going through what we just went through in August, I don't think it makes sense to put it back in that location.
Okay. Few basic questions, and I'll call on you, Jan, okay? A few basic questions. What happens if we don't do this? Is this the only property that's available now? I know, but is there any other place you could put this thing in the future if we did not do this? And can anything else in that area really develop, knowing our limitations if you're at or near capacity here?
Are there other places we could move it? Sure, we could look for other land available in that corridor, right? So you got a vacant KFC building. I think the vacant KFC building has a higher value as a taxable entity because your turn movements are better with a controlled intersection. The problem with this parcel, they've tried to redevelop it several times in the past 8 years, is it's right in, right out. There's no left turn movements at all because of the way the intersection is configured right there. It's a very tough parcel to put anything on and have success. I mean, everything that's been in there has failed except for the original car wash. I think the KFC property probably has more value as a restaurant. Potentially, we could get some land from Buffalo Wild Wings in the back corner of the parking lot maybe, but hydraulically, I don't know if that would work to relocate there. So
And what does it mean for development if we don't tackle this issue? Does it affect that at all?
yeah, once you hit your maximum capacity, you're done with development in that corridor.
And how close are we to the maximum capacity? You're,
Probably at about 50%.
okay.
Oh,
But the thing you got to remember is lift 3 pumps to lift 6. Lift 3 is going to be out of capacity before lift 6.
Okay.
Are you going to spend the money and rebuild a new lift 3, which you're going to have to acquire land for because there again, it exists in road right away and there's nowhere to expand? Or are you going to eliminate lift 3 and build a regional lift 6?
Okay.
where's lift 3?
It's right across the street from Menards by Walmart.
Oh,
It would be the southeast corner of that intersection.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay, Jan.
thank you. So there was a very extensive what do we call it? Research done by, excuse me, Rupert and Milky back in 23 in September. And it went through a couple of different scenarios. And I would like to see another scenario because all you're giving us is one. And I think we need a cost comparison. And if there's 50% left, for us to expand in an area that's pretty well built up, wouldn't you agree? Is there a cost savings by going someplace else? Because there is little appetite for this village to be buying property at this time for what we're going through with the village center. I'm just saying. But I want to make sure that you say in your presentation that going across the Little River, we're still in the floodplain. And we got lucky and it was on higher ground this time, but there's no telling where water is going to go, right? in the next 20 years, right?
Well, one thing we do know is where it went. And it went to the current location
Right. It was,
this year, and it's likely to happen that way again, absent some changes to the topography. So what we're doing is saying, there was that study that talked about lift 3 and talked about
Right.
different ways the system could be configured. But ultimately, that's kind of a second step in the process. What we do know is that lift 6 in the next 5 to 10 years will need to be replaced.
sure,
Right.
sure.
And
But-
it needs to go in that corridor somewhere. And we know that its current location is not a good location, because of the issues we experienced in August. And every year it sits there, it's at risk of that happening again, and that would be a catastrophic loss.
So,
Moving it, because we have to reconstruct it anyway, to the other side where we know the ground is higher, makes a lot of sense for planning purposes.
well, the suggestion was putting it back in the parking lot on the other side of Buffalo Wild Wings. If you were going to reconstruct it anyway, right?
Picture,
Yeah,
a lot of water there.
yep. So I'm suggesting that a comparison of cost be done.
Those-
And I think that right now, isn't the most important lift station Main and Jefferson Ditch?
Yep, absolutely. And that's why those projects are moving forward. We'll talk about that a little later tonight. But this is just village staff trying to present an appropriate planning response to issues that we know exist.
Right. But I
And the-
think that if we don't have a comparison, I don't want to make a knee-jerk reaction because this has been, as you mentioned, talked about for 3 years, and you're saying we're not at capacity yet. We've got 5 to 10 years. Maybe this isn't the year either to be doing this. I'm saying,
The only thing that I would say is that we could lose our opportunity for this. That could sell tomorrow.
well, it hasn't sold.
It could though.
Everything,
then we're-
anything could happen.
Yeah, and then we're
The
exploring.
sky could fall. I'm just saying, I thought these property owners did not want to absolutely sell to the village.
That's not true.
Well,
Well,
That's
Jan,
the
why don't we
urban
wait and
legend.
see? Why don't we wait and see? We haven't gone back that route. So you're against it. We get that.
right,
I have to ask as a follow-up, what comparison would we be looking for? This site versus what, the back
Another
parking
site.
lot?
another site. Well, they're the engineers.
What other land is for sale in that area that would,
He said KFC.
well, we're not going to use the restaurant site. That would cost you,
No kidding. Take
Twice
it
as
off the
much.
tax
Yeah.
roll? Are you kidding me?
no.
What, will help me understand, why could the current lift station, as you're talking about, be elevated somehow?
Right away.
Don't have enough room to do the work.
Does that mean,
And I mean, elevating it to create more space, like to create more capacity, sure, that's a possibility. I mean, you're going to block Buffalo Wild Wings with a big tank. I don't think that that's something the Plan Commission would be very interested in seeing in that corridor. But still, the bottom line is that the lift station will need to be replaced at some point in the next 5 to 10 years. And where are we going to do it? We don't want to do it there because we know the site is prone to flooding. We experienced it.
Pretty good summary. Rick?
Yeah, I remember this back a few years ago, and I was in favor of it then to look at purchasing that property for all the reasons that you stated. And there is no spot. It's landlocked. It's in a right of way. There's no place to go. And the advantage of going across the river is a lot of the piping is already there. I mean, in order to move this is going to be minimal compared to try to find another location for it. The parcel itself, Taco Bell tried to move there and that was a colossal failure. There, you couldn't make it work because of ingress egress is just not set up the right way for that property. It's a forgotten property now, and that's why it's been sitting vacant for a while. I have no problem
Mhm.
pursuing this. I think it's a great idea. It makes the most sense. You're moving the lift station approximately, what, 1,500 feet, 2,000 feet, whatever it is. And you've got the land to adjust it and make it, make it available for 20, 30 years.
Bob?
So before I get started, I wanted to clarify that the assignments that President Soderberg had when he showed up was to clean the traffic cones, right? That's all he was doing. All right, let's get that on the record. Okay. So during our utility advisory meeting, one of our committee members was kind of asking the same type of questions. He had a lot of data that he had collected, and he was talking about invert elevations and pipe sizes, and that maybe there's a better place to put it to address these other issues that he perceived were there. And my response was that when we get to the point where we bring a consultant on board, I'm sure that would be part of what they're going to look at. You know, if they're a good consultant, they're going to say, we think there might be a better way or a better location for this. So I'm not too worried about not identifying options right now. I'm more concerned that we have a really good option because we can use a lot of the existing infrastructure. As Rick said, we can eliminate lift station 3 by doing this. And correct me if I'm wrong, that's not a guarantee. If we pick a different location, that lift station 3 would be eliminated. It might still be there, right? So eliminate 3, and I know we asked, well, what do you think the savings would be? And it didn't have the numbers, but there could be some kind of savings because we're not maintaining the pumps and everything else associated with it. So that's why I like this option going over there, using existing infrastructure, eliminating maintenance on part of the system. The fallback was, let's say we purchase it, and if all things fall apart, we could sell it too, or whatever. So that's why we were 3-2 in favor of moving this forward. I don't want to push us into a box by delaying another year or something. Then something really falls apart, and now we got to reconstruct 6, just throwing more money into a hole that, it's not going to benefit us as much.
Jan?
So if we eliminate, we can absolutely eliminate lift 3 if we rebuild 6.
Yeah, that was part of that study that you referenced. They did look at that analysis, that was an option that's on the table, would be to eliminate lift 3, relay gravity sewer down Appleton Avenue, and then down County Line Road and bring that into lift 6 as a gravity sewer and eliminate that lift station altogether.
3.
Correct.
Okay. And what is the cost of the lift station 6 to be redone? What would be an estimate?
Have no idea. We haven't looked at those dollars as a project.
This number 6 does not have to be constructed in the next 2 to 3 years.
No. But you are on.
So
par
we
tonight.
would have,
It is a
we would
buried-
be. Pardon, go
buried
ahead.
steel structure underground. And the minute you bury steel, it starts to deteriorate. And it's deteriorating. It's almost 50 years old.
Okay, understood. So this would be absolutely the third lift station we'd have to worry about. We need Main, we need Jefferson Ditch, correct?
Main Street and Old Farm.
Old Farm, thank you.
Yes.
And we have no estimate. So up to 1.2 million, this was listed at around 700,000 a few years back by the property owners. So I have a problem. I just think we need a professional to go in there, a real estate professional. That's all I'm
Yeah,
saying.
and the 1.2, that was the budget number. The parameters that the village board sets up for the village attorney or whoever to negotiate the deal is different. I mean, you could set up different parameters other than the budget. A smaller amount or whatever the case might be. So that's still within your control when you work through this process if it does advance to the village board.
And this would be on the board agenda either way,
Yes.
and not as a consent item.
Right, gotcha.
Further discussion?
Motion.
No?
No,
This was one of those where we took the discussion first.
I'm
Oh,
gonna move, that we, forward this with a positive recommendation for land acquisition for lift station 6 to the village board.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Jan?
opposed.
One in opposition.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to water supply service area plan review. Who's got that?
That's gonna be me. Paul's feeling a little under the weather tonight, so let me just flip over to that. So this water supply service area plan is in response to new regulation from the DNR that requires that a supply service area plan be in place by the end of 2025. So we have this plan drafted essentially to meet the requirements of the DNR, and that's really the only reason that it was conducted. We had a similar document that was prepared in 2023, and it was presented to the utility advisory in 24 and to Public Works in 24. So when you go through the document, it kind of bases its projections off of the 2050 plan and anticipated population growth. And it talks about, there's calculations in the plan about the sources of supply, which is the primary focus of the plan. It goes a little bit into storage, which isn't really required as part of the plan, but there is some data in there about that.
And ultimately, it makes some recommendations about future sources of supply and where we anticipate needing additional supply in the future. What it boils down to is that only right at the very end of the planning window that this document covered, the 10-year planning window, does the village get to a point where it looks like an additional source of supply, like
something else would be necessary. And that's with some fairly aggressive population growth numbers. And we discussed that a little bit in the Utility Advisory Committee, where they used the sewer pack projection for Germantown that, you know, maybe is a little aggressive. I think the point there is that, you know, we're looking at the actual supply and the actual consumption and aren't going to be acting on projections alone. So even though the projection, it may be that Germantown, you know, slows down and doesn't grow at all, or it may exceed that projection. We just don't know. But we do know, based on the numbers in the report, you know, at what volume of water do we need to be thinking about providing additional supply. So it talks about, should the, you know, the land use and the population continue on that projection through 10 years. In that 10th year, we're going to be at about 98% of our supply. And you'd really want to be thinking about, obviously, a new source of supply before that. So it talks about how water moves between the pressure zones, and it talks about alternative sources of supply. So, you know, whether it's wells or agreements with neighboring municipalities, you know, there's a number of options available to the village for additional supply in the future. A couple of those, the village has already done some planning for. So the new well 12, which is online now, actually. We'll talk about that in the director's report, has the capability to expand into a deep well. And that could be the additional supply that's needed 10 years from now or whatever. Also, with the Sutton Farm development, there's land reserved there as well for a new well. So there's a couple options for the village staying with its local, you know, source of supply. And then I mentioned, you know, an alternative is neighboring communities like Milwaukee Waterworks. That was something that was mentioned in the alternative source analysis and had previously been discussed with sewer pack. So those are just options that are out there and things for the village to consider as we get, you know, our way through this planning window. But ultimately, the report is really just done to meet the DNR requirement.
And so you're just looking for approval on that?
Approval of the report, it will need to go to the village board for approval via a public hearing.
Has it been to the Utility Advisory Committee yet?
Yes.
Okay, and it passed there unanimously or? So. Yeah, okay.
I believe so.
All right, committee?
Well, I guess I'll make a motion to approve the plan.
I'll second.
Questions, comments?
Well, I was going to comment that they used a projection that I don't think is realistic. You know, it's growing so much. So it's very conservative, even based on that, as far as our supply that we have.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can look at the report and infer that we're in pretty good shape with our supply in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. We haven't really increased our water too much in the last 10 years, period.
Yeah, absent a big water user coming on board and like an industrial commercial user, that could certainly change things. But as of right now, we're in good shape. The other big variable in the study, if you dig into it, is obviously gales and whether they're on or not. We do have to reserve some capacity for them, and that's kind of what's dictated to us by the PSC. That already exists.
Yeah. And even in our 2050 plan, any of the estimates from Sewer PAC are way higher than what is a realistic trajectory for population and water usage. So that was my comment.
Bob?
I think that's a good point to mention here, the impact that Gales has on us. So we have to provide all that infrastructure for when they need that water. We're not able to, based upon the Service Commission, to recoup that really in the rates. So that's kind of a challenge that we have to try to figure that one out.
Yeah, and it's one that there'll be more discussions on, especially because, the other thing that we're not talking about tonight, but that was discussed at the Utility Advisory Committee was water and sewer rates. And when we're talking about, a potential rate case for water, Gales is playing a part in that for sure.
Further comments? We'll just advance this. We'll vote to advance it to the village board. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Moving on to the salt purchase agreement with the state of Wisconsin.
All right, so in past years, you'll probably remember that when it comes to our salt purchase, the timing of the notification from WSDOT about the salt purchasing window being open and then them needing the information back, like our commitment for salt, happens in a period of just like 2-3 weeks and doesn't line up with committee cycles. So what we've done previously, and we will still do this time around, is report after the fact what we agreed to. But I just thought it would be appropriate and fully transparent to ask for the permission to enter into an agreement with WSDOT, understanding that there's still a bunch of variables, and this is the trouble with them asking for our commitment so early in the season when we're not even technically through winter. But it will be closer. It'll be at some point in February where we get this information. And we'll want to look at what salt we used over the course of this year. I've got a report on that later. Some of the historical consumption data, the inventory, and then we'll work with the administration on budget considerations for next year before, giving WSDOT our purchase order.
Okay.
So all we're looking for is authorization to enter into that agreement with the state for the volume of salt that we need.
This is typical every year. Committee, we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve staff to enter into an agreement with WSDOT to secure the 2027 salt order.
I'll second. Question. Matt, the road salt, is WSDOT the only game in town? Because I talked to our supplier, and if you, sometimes when you, there's different times of the year you can buy salt and it might be more attractive pricing.
Yeah, Wisdot really is the only game in town when it comes to pricing because they can purchase at such volume. They're buying for essentially every community in the state, municipality and county. So
Okay.
it really goes unmatched when it comes to buying power. And that's why, you know, every community that I'm aware of purchases salt through the state contract.
Okay. Will we, are we going to take any of this volume and move it over to the liquid,
The brine.
the brine?
I
Thank
mean,
you.
certainly, you know, the hope is that in the future,
Yeah.
we won't need to use as much of the rock salt
Mhm.
because of the brine distribution. You know, hopefully you see the salt use go down and the brine use go up and there's some savings there. But we're just, you know, at the start of our brine program with really, I guess, a winter and a half of being able to produce our own brine under our belt here.
So can you, oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, I was educated by Mr. Solverson that the salt we get from the state is too dirty for brine operations.
It is, we don't use
Okay,
it.
so the two are kind of separate.
They are separate, but does the state offer the pellets or whatever we need for the brine?
No, the state does not have a cooperative contract for solar salt, which we use for brine, but we have worked with a handful of neighboring like North Shore communities on a cooperative there.
Oh, great.
So we've utilized that this year.
Thank you.
Further comments? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Moving on to acceptance of an appraisal performed by WISDOT and the transfer of Village Germantown land to WISDOT for additional right-of-way at the intersection of Division Road and State Highway 145.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the appraisal and agreement to transfer the land to Wisdot for an amount of $13,500.
Second.
Any questions? We know what that's for. It's for the roundabout.
Yep, it's for the right of way. I could not discern, but could you tell me approximately how much land is going to be chopped off or?
Oh, I could find that in here. I'll show you visually. How about that?
That's fine.
Um,
Is that whole corner?
It's crossed with the crosshatch.
yeah, it's this corner. So this is the location, the parcel with the old DPW and where the police building will be. And then, let's see if I can find it here. Essentially on the Salt Dome property, there's another little sliver of land.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right here. So this is the property the Salt Dome is on. So they're just going to take a little more room there to accommodate the space for the roundabout. So you can see 145 coming here and this is Division Road.
It doesn't look like more than,
It's a nominal amount of land. It's essentially right away right now. It's not worth very much, which is reflected in the appraisal.
yeah.
And in order to keep the WISDOT project moving along, I think it makes sense to just proceed with this agreement.
What's the schedule? When were they going to try? Wasn't it 26?
No, it's this year. It is 26. Yes, I guess it is 2026. But it will be a quick project over the summer. I think they have it scheduled for a 2-month period from like June through July, done in August and open for school.
It's
And-
the worst intersection to try and cross.
Any further comments?
Yeah, I was just going to say that because these are nominal takings and that it won't impact any options that we may want in the future for the police station. Right.
Correct. Yeah. And I've, back when we were working with Grafe, Moore and PRA on the feasibility study, I shared this information and we're able to confirm that even with this taking, we've got plenty of room for the proposed facility on that site, so it will not impact that project.
Good, thank you.
We shall vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. L, authorization to exceed the construction administration services, professional services agreement with R.A. Smith for the High Point Pass project on a time and materials basis not to exceed $225,000.
Good evening again. So staff is bringing this item to Public Works Highways Committee, where this project is more than $100,000 under the approved budget. And that is in large part due to a full-time consultant doing construction inspection services. We held regular meetings on prosecution in progress, schedules and quantity and quality control. This project was part of a development agreement project where multiple landowners transferred land to the village. And as part of this project, some change orders to accommodate these property owners did occur, including some storm sewer redesign and rerouting for storm sewer extension. Staff had weekly meetings with the construction administration team and the contractor, in addition to having weekly meetings with village DPW staff. The updates on the project included costs and change orders for department head approval per the Code of Ordinance, Section 3.08, Part D. Again, this project is under budget and has approximately $100,000 remaining in the construction budget. There's been 10 change orders, largely related to the geotechnical argument and some storm sewer work. Remaining work includes getting the signals on next week, the LSI lighting, and as-builts. So staff is requesting that the approved amount, which was an estimate on a time and materials basis, be increased on a time and materials basis, not to exceed the amount identified in the packet. And I just had a conversation with the construction administrator today, and she expressed a high level of confidence of coming well within that budget.
Or what's the additional cost?
Like 51,000-ish?
Yeah, the about 174,000 was the approved amount.
225 now, so it's,
Yeah, so they're at about 198 now, and there's ideally we could get the remaining about 210, but just in case, we're looking at 220. We're requesting a total contract amount of 225.
And then I would just add a couple things. Kevin mentioned that this was part of a development agreement. And if you recall, that development agreement committed the village to constructing this road in a relatively short amount of time. So this is just the case where, again, like we've talked about with the road program, additional time in plan development probably would have saved us some costs here in the construction administration inspection. But we did need to meet that deadline in the development agreement for truck country access. And that certainly complicated things. The land transfers and some of the other changes mentioned in here also evolved through the course of the project. I think in the past, the reason you haven't seen items like this is because we haven't taken, and I'm not necessarily speaking for myself, but the village hasn't taken items like this to the committee. Kevin and I talked about it, and we brought this item in full transparency about what's happening on this project and some of the unforeseen conditions and circumstances that we're trying to deal with.
me?
What,
We have a motion.
do we need a motion? Or-
That'd be nice.
Okay. I'll make a motion to authorize authorization to exceed the construction administration services personal services agreement with R.A. Smith for the High Point Pass project on a time and materials basis not to exceed $225,000
Total contract,
total contract.
not the amendment.
Have a second?
Total contract.
Second.
Okay, Jan, discussion.
Yes. So you did mention developers agreement for Truck Country. So um, we tried to make this road that goes nowhere for for Truck Country in the developers agreement. This was a requirement, correct?
Correct. Yes, this road was built to serve the truck country development and then the future extension south of the railroad to Freistadt, which was part of the Richfield IGA. So this was part of that project.
Right, if it ever happens. And so the developers agreement has Truck Country in there. What was the Truck Country portion or responsibility for this road?
Could you repeat your question or rephrase it? I'm not sure I quite understand what.
So
what
the developers
what you're
agreement,
asking.
the developers agreement was written for Truck Country. Was this road, High Point Pass, included in the developers agreement for Truck Country?
The development agreement conditions where the village build this road to serve the truck country site. So that the village built this road as part of that development agreement.
So Truck Country is not responsible for any dollars toward this road? Is that what you're saying? Microphone.
Trustee Miller, I'd have to go back and look at the development agreement, but I believe there was a contribution in the development agreement. I remember conversations about this initial, potentially being a private driveway to Truck Country, and that would cost a certain amount of money. And then the public road would cost something more, and they might be responsible for like the private driveway portion of it.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
So I have a faint recollection that that might be in there, but I'm not 100% sure about that. And then, like Kevin mentioned, this is also going to serve the Holy Hill Self-Storage that still exists on that site or in that general location, as well as the property across the street, which is currently owned by MLG. The parkland, green space that the village now owns at the south end of the road. And then eventually, the planning is that this connects and crosses the railroad and connects down to Freistadt. So it serves more than just Truck Country.
Understood. I just wanted to understand what their contribution was, or if there was contribution from the self-storage or MLG.
Anything else on that, Jan? Or is that it?
Those, yes.
Okay, Bob? Oh, I'm sorry, Rick.
Go ahead, either one. Um, So you said that, Kevin, you said that the current budget is about $100,000, or I'm sorry, current costs are $100,000 less than budgeted right now
For the construction costs.
for the construction costs. Okay. So with this addition, the overall project is going to be what, about 50,000 then under?
Yes, with the two contracts combined between the construction contractor and the construction
Mhm.
or the consultant construction administration firm.
Okay.
But yes, approximately $50,000 under
Yeah, I just
total
want a
approved budget.
clarification on that. I thought so. Thanks.
Bob?
So this amendment is just for R.A. Smith, just for their inspection services and that. Was the contractor asking for more money because of these changes we threw at him?
Throughout the course of the project, there's been some dialogue where they've had a different perspective than village staff and the construction administration services firm. And we've worked through some things where the village gave in a little bit and they gave in a little bit to be able to work in good faith with one another to have, I believe, what is a successful outcome with a high quality road.
Okay, so you kind of mitigated the extras in construction with what you said. I just want to make sure that this additional time for R.A. Smith was because they need more time out there because we told them to change things after things were in place and moving, correct?
either we told them to change things or the lack of time invested in the plans required field changes.
Who did the plans?
The plans were R.A. Smith, but again, it was a compressed window to get the project done to meet the development agreement. So
So,
that's where the biggest improvement in these projects can happen, in
Yep.
my opinion, is that there's adequate time for design.
either you give up the time and the quality lacks, or, yeah. So, I mean, there was an access issue, or the alignment originally for the storm sewer changed because some access changed, or,
Mhm.
right, the alignment changed?
Yeah,
on this-
the MLG site, we had originally established we were gonna have a drainage easement through the northwest corner of their parcel. Then they changed their mind after the contract was bid and awarded. Or during that process, basically, well, like during the bid process, they were saying, and the land transfer hadn't occurred. And we were under contract to get the work done. So it was there were many layers of the, which for a typical road program contract, we would avoid entering into something that complicated.
So
So-
we had our developers agreement was with MLG.
They did a land transfer and a sanitary easement.
So the developers were holding our feet to the fire to meet a schedule, right?
Yeah, with the right of way being established, they wanted to make sure the public infrastructure was not on that parcel. So rather than in an easement that may have limited some of the land that they could develop.
But here they're throwing all these cogs into the machine, which made it difficult for us to maintain our schedule,
Y-
and which now prompted our consultant to spend more time on the project because of the developers' changes.
Right. Without that transfer, the sanitary service to Truck Country would have had a different configuration, and then the roadway right of way.
Understood. I'm
Would
just
have also
trying to
had it.
see if the developer should share some of these additional costs because they made these changes at the 11th hour.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it might be difficult to go back and get that, but it's something that could be entertained. I think either way, the village would like to finish executing the contract and the construction work.
Get it wrapped up, but I'm just saying that,
It,
if they caused the delays and made us pay
Yeah.
more money,
Yeah.
they should share some of that burden.
I agree. And then is this entire project, both the construction and the services agreement, is that coming out of TID
Yes.
8
Um,
or
I'd have
7?
to double check if it's TID 8 or TID 7.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Moving on, road program review, Kingsway.
Okay. In your packet, there's a number of exhibits. And as part of the 2026 road program, staff is working through the design of leaving the curb in place and doing some spot repairs of the curb and reconstructing the asphalt as part of the road program. In one area, it's particularly flat, and the slopes would not be approved today if this were to be proposed by a developer. We would require steeper slopes. The slopes are less than 1%. And drainage is you can see some trees and maybe there's another exhibit where it shows some wet areas, but there's frequent ponding on the road in this area. So we were looking at an option to put in storm sewer along Kingsway to help improve the drainage. But that would come at a cost which wasn't budgeted in the it wasn't fully budgeted in the road program estimate. So that's about approximately $100,000 more than what that was identified in the 2026 road program for Esquire Estates. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. And so we looked at, in lieu of all of that construction costs for storm sewer improvements, what's another option with respect to the slopes? So we looked at the driveways, and the driveways could provide a 2% slope. However, that would be replatting potentially those areas to establish private property where that kind of that frontage road currently is. To get a cross slope from the driveway that would drain down to the main thoroughfare of Kingsway. That cost estimate is a little less than all of the storm sewer work and asphalt work that would be pursued with option one. But overall, it's kind of a wash. So I think the question is kind of like, do we want to pursue replatting this and extending driveways, which would be a schedule impact, or should we proceed with some additional storm sewer work that wouldn't be required if we were to redesign it today?
So basically, you're giving us two choices. Do we get to pick one or the other? And where's the money going to come from? I guess that's most important to me. What are we taking out of the road program?
There's two projects in the road program that we were gonna put to another year to be able
Okay,
to complete
so
this
you've
work.
got that figured out. When you say driveways and you say a number of people with driveways and trying to redo their driveways, I am very gun shy. We've had enough issues with driveways. I think it's a much cleaner, easier thing to do the sewer. That's my personal opinion. Bob?
So when you talk about this 1%, is that the cross slope you're talking about or the longitudinal slope?
Longitudinal slope.
How does this proposal of eliminating that frontage road, so be it, help you with that?
We would still put storm sewer along the south curb line of Kingsway. We'd put two more inlets in there. There'd be 250 feet of storm sewer along the south curb of the main line of Kingsway. Alternatively, it would be 750 feet of storm sewer with more catch basins is how we were looking at designing it.
I'm still confused on how eliminating that frontage road helps you with your drainage.
The drainage in the frontage road is also problematic.
Yeah.
We would have to build more storm sewer to drain the frontage road. If we were to rebuild the driveways closer to the right of way, we'd be able to get a 2% slope all the way down to the main Kingsway main line
Along the curb,
to get to the curb.
along the curb line.
The curb line we would put a minor summit to help
High point.
the drainage.
Well, I trust your calculation. I just am a little confused with so you can eliminate some storm sewer if you get rid of the frontage road. That's one item. Right.
Yes,
And you'd be adding costs to extend the driveways to the main road.
right, but we would not be reconstructing the road, that frontage road.
Right. It goes away. You're obliterating it.
Correct.
Yeah, you're getting rid of it.
Then that would become potentially private property.
Right, so that maintenance of that goes away, the snow plowing of that goes away. You don't have to
Yes.
put storm sewer in it. You have to do some grading because you extend the driveways. I don't know if the residents would be happy with your proposal, but that's another issue. But you still are invested in fixing the drainage in front of that area because it's so flat. So that's why you're adding catch basins
Correct.
to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the third option, which nobody really wants to entertain, is just to put it back how it was. But if you go there and look at the conditions of the asphalt, I mean,
Yeah.
you can see the evidence.
Done the damage.
Yeah. So the appropriate thing to do would be to choose one of these two options and not that third option. And really when it's kind of neutral on cost, it's, that's why we're kind of asking for your preference
Yeah.
and,
Have you touched base with the residents on this option?
No, not yet. Last year, and the year before, we did, public, meetings for programs of the work that's coming up.
Yeah.
So we're looking to schedule something. It's getting a little tight here in February, but maybe early March. But the problem is we're trying to advertise the contract in early March and finalize it. So, I think what I was hearing, as part of this discussion was the complexity of, the individual property owner impacts with their driveways, may be more difficult than doing storm sewer improvements along the curb.
Well, if I had an opinion, my opinion would be to eliminate that frontage road. Whatever option. Is that option one or option, I don't know.
Option 2.
Eliminating that frontage road, I think, when you look at the long-term benefits
Right.
and the initial savings on, I think that's the way to go, is to get rid of that frontage road.
So with getting rid of the,
That's just my opinion.
Is that the driveway?
It would extend the driveway.
And the driveways, because now they don't,
Main
to
thing.
get
The
to
main-
the main.
I mean,
Yeah.
well, they're a lot,
People gonna run Snow blowing, but if we do that hole.
yeah,
Yes.
there's,
sidewalks there. Don't worry about it.
Done this year.
yeah, the other note about the driveway is there's a couple, nice concrete driveways. One of them has some stamped concrete decorative along the side.
Oh, yeah.
So
Of course.
And don't,
imagine that would be a bit of an issue, but
don't you know that their children ride their bicycles and tricycles on that frontage road where it's safe?
Oh,
Do not go there.
goalposts on that little island.
I-
No, we don't, we know,
Well, from
One.
an engineering perspective, I would get rid of that frontage road.
so what do you need from us? Do you need a vote or just
it was
discussion?
it was a discussion item to understand if there was, a strong objection to one or the other, or a strong interest in pursuing, potentially, replatting that area and reaching out to property owners similar to the Country Bell Manor, where we went through, driveway work as part of the road program. And what I'm hearing is, there's some interest, but not a strong objection to, reconstructing in the existing
know what
footprint
they-
with storm sewer improvements.
I didn't hear their opinions.
My opinion is get rid of the frontage road. I think it's easier just to make, where do we have another frontage road like that? It's a
Well, you
little
have to have-
eyebrow.
You have to have a public meeting for all those people affected by this. Do
It's
you want
5
to get this
people.
project done this year or is this going to be pushed back another year?
It depends on the cooperation of
That's it.
the property.
I would
owners.
then
Is it-
push it back a year. And
Well-
Pazer
for
rating.
money for something else.
What's this rated? What's the Pazer?
Probably a 3, maybe a 2 in some areas.
Pretty bad.
But it looked like there were 5 or 6 property owners on this eyebrow,
2, 3, 4, 5.
frontage road, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, 5.
5. Can't we reach out to those people?
Yeah, it would just take staff time
Yeah.
rather than focus on getting the contract documents out the door.
How long,
yeah,
how much long would those driveways get? How much longer?
Yeah.
oh, it was in there.
There's another.
It's good. So it kind of gives you an idea.
Yeah. He had it up before.
Yeah,
And I'm looking at,
But I can't,
but nobody remembers.
there,
I didn't see that.
35 to
Additional driveway you need.
35 to over 50 feet
Yeah.
of additional length.
That's a big, you're really making a long drive. I'd be ticked off if you did that to me.
well,
Unless you want to plow my driveway.
But they get more property as well. That's the swap.
Yeah.
You get more driveway, but
The big
yes,
property
you're getting
tax.
additional property that isn't part of the village.
yeah, like, why would you want concrete?
I mean, I would
there?
pursue eliminating that road as well.
Yeah, okay.
There you
I
go.
think that's what you have to do, but
That's,
you know, there's going to be some opposition. I'm
And these
sure.
guys will help you. They'll get the public meetings going.
I'll go door to door.
Well, I think there's a trustee that lives like across the street, so I have a feeling she'll have some voices around that.
How are
Okay,
we helpful?
no, that is, it's good discussion, so staff can plan to reach out to,
And I believe they have an HOA. I know they have an HOA.
They do have an HOA.
Yep.
I know they all have the same yard light.
All I would say is that, you know, I definitely don't want to move the entire subdivision paving back a year. So we'd have to figure out a way to work through this year. And if,
Well-
If we make it clear to them that we have a deadline, this is what we need to do
Yeah. And
to eliminate, and don't give them the two options. I mean, because this is, the committee believes this is the right option.
The other thing is, this is all village property, right?
correct.
yeah,
So the idea would be to bring the bid openings back to Public Works, the first meeting in April. So, it's typically a 2-week advertisement window, allowing a 1-week,
response.
time to prepare for the meeting. So there's not a lot of time to get absolute confirmation from the property owners without pushing back the schedule for the contract award.
What's your priority? Your schedule or your engineering? What's your priority? You're saying if we get rid of this.
I would say the schedule,
Because the road is that bad, it can't last another year.
no, it's just absent doing that, we don't have anything in the can ready to go for this year.
We got a 10-year program out
We have
there.
a 10-year program, but this year was the first year we approved a 2-year window. So we've never had the opportunity to work ahead. And we're just entering into a cycle
We're
where
gonna have plans on the shelf, basically. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
oh,
So what would happen then if we still didn't do it? What would, that money still stays?
The other option might be to have the bid shift back a month and then award it in May.
Yeah, about a
we're
third.
we're
Give
doing,
us good
do an
price.
alternate as we work through the details.
An alternate, yeah.
A lot has to come together to stay on that schedule. Oh,
Yeah, I think an alternate seems like the way to go.
alternate. What does that mean?
Alternate bid so that we'll get bid prices for both,
Yeah,
depending on if we get cooperation.
yeah,
We could incorporate that.
that sounds fabulous.
Does that give you enough?
Yes.
Perfect.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, Matt's going to race through the project update.
All right,
Please.
yeah, I've been
Brief.
given the bat signal to make this a brief update. So I'll just go through it quick. In terms of projects being worked on, Kevin already talked about it, but Division Road and the road program are at the top of his list, and the engineering staff. We're also trying to work through the telecommunications planning. There's a draft agreement with one of those telecoms at the village attorney for review, and we're not quite as far along with the other one. So it's progressing. Still anticipating that if we can get through an agreement, that we'll have an RFP for consultant services to support that work, and then be able to bill back that time. Other things highlighted in green, down to the water superintendent. So the well 7 rehab is underway. CTW was awarded that work. Initial CCTV shows that there was pretty extensive cleaning needed. That was CCTV done before the cleaning started. So it got really dirty. It had been 20 plus years since it had been rehabbed. The initial mechanical cleaning has happened now, and things are actually looking quite positive there. There was the thought that maybe lining on the casing would be needed, but we think that's not the case right now, and this project will actually come in under budget in all likelihood. So that's good news. Well 12, I mentioned earlier, has started. Going back a few weeks, and I might have even had it on the report last month, The DNR completed the inspection, so the well is running. And just to remind everybody, we do have monitoring on all the neighboring wells. So we'll continue to get that data as well 12 continues to operate here. We talked about lift stations quite a bit today. The RFP for the lift station design is out. We had a mandatory pre-proposal meeting with 7 firms attending. It was sent out to 8, 7 attended. So we're anticipating a good response on that with probably around 5 firms responding. And then we'll have something for you to approve potentially at the next Public Works meeting on that.
Is that Old Farm in Maine?
Yes.
Thank you.
Moving on to highway buildings and grounds. Continued snow operations. We went through another little stretch where there was some of those smaller operations, but a series of them kind of in the middle part of January. Thankfully, that's tapered off a little bit here in the last couple weeks. And they've been working on a couple tree projects as well. The annual tree pruning project that was largely in the Old Farm neighborhood is complete, with I think only one instance where we had some discussions with residents and came to some compromises. But overall, that went very smoothly this year.
And as a note, one of the tree committee people monitored that and took a look at it and said there was a great improvement. So thank you for that.
Yep.
And
Yep. I thought it went well.
yep.
The report on my activities, I've been helping out the fire department and police department on getting their projects off the ground. With the fire department, we had a mandatory pre-proposal site meeting on Monday for the construction manager and had a really good turnout there. So we're expecting that their construction management proposals, they'll maybe have, I don't know, somewhere between 3 and 6 proposals, which will be an improvement over what we got for the DPW. So we're happy with that. On Friday of this week, we have the pre-proposal site meeting for the police department, architecture and engineering. So we'll get an idea of the interest in that. I'm assuming that that's going to be pretty high. When we did the A&E for the fire department, I think we had 11 firms interested in design. So I think we'll get that number and maybe more for the police department, considering it's a bigger project. Moving down, we do have a couple projects with WISDOT anticipated this year. I highlighted those. And I also updated this section to include, I dropped off most of the 25 stuff and then added 2029 as well. Compliance milestones, we talked about NR 854, so getting this through the village board and the public hearing, we'll check that box and we can cross that off the list. So we've made good progress on some of the compliance issues. Scrolling down, you can see the materials report and overtime report for Public Works. The overtime, because of a lot of these smaller repetitive events, is already in pretty tough shape for the year. This was a budget that was reduced and as part of the process this year. So we're anticipating that, there will be some amount of overage here. This is almost all time that's associated with snow removal. And then the material use, you can see that year to date, we've used about 13, almost 1,400 ton of salt. It's actually, when you include November, which isn't in here, we're up to about 1,500 ton on the season. And if you remember, that's about what we bought. So we're right at the point where we basically used what we bought. And anything more, that'll be something we'll need to consider when we're purchasing salt next year. I hope so. Although I think there's some in the forecast for Friday. Tonight? Well, even worse. Going through on the department update, we've have had kind of a rotating door of vacancies here. So currently Scott's group in Highway Park Buildings and Grounds has an open apprentice operator position that's due to an internal transfer. The water operator position was filled by the individual from Scott's area. And then we have a wastewater operator position that's been open for a little bit. When I wrote this on Friday, the position offer had been transmitted. I think there's still some back and forth there. So we're hoping that we can get that filled. And then also last week, Sokrat, one of our engineering technicians, submitted his resignation. He'd been commuting from the Oak Creek area every day, and it is a terrible drive. And he's able to get a job doing the same thing in Oak Creek, so you can't blame him for that. It was a great move. And then the last thing, it's not on here because it's relatively new news, but I also submitted my resignation because I have an offer to work as the Public Works Director in Brookfield. It's the community where I live. And it's a good opportunity for a lot of different reasons. So this will be my my final Public Works meeting. I'll still be around here for a handful of weeks and at the village board meetings. But I just want to say that it was a pleasure working with the committee and all of you. It was a really great experience. I learned a lot. And kind of more than anything, I'm thankful for the Public Works staff. I think there's a really strong group of people here that are doing a really good job, from the staff that are conducting the work out in the field to the folks that are supervising it and managing it. You've got a super strong crew here, and I think they deserve the appreciation. They do all the hard work. So it made this job like really easy. So I'm thankful for them as I kind of step back from my role here.
Well, Matt, we want to thank you for leading this committee here. And you will be missed. You know, it's sad to see you go, but I certainly understand why you're doing it, you know, but thank you. Thank you for your service.
Yeah, we appreciated your professionalism, your initiative to get into areas that have been delinquent in the past here, as far as, you know, asset inventories and those types of things. That was greatly appreciated and needed. And you dumbed things down enough for us so that we could understand and make decisions
It
based
was
on
really easy for me to do.
good information. So best of luck to you in your continued engineering career, and thank you for everything.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, with that, we have to set our next meeting date, which would be Wednesday, March 4th. If that works for everyone, 5:30 PM, same time. So that'll be our next meeting, and then we shall adjourn here at 7:28 PM. Thank you, everyone.
Can't believe till you finish the sidewalks plowing thing.